It's all going to zero against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever, Warren.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
They buy treasuries, they buy gold. People don't buy Bitcoin for safety.
Yeah, Bitcoin is still mostly a risk-on asset. And, you know, there's potentially been lots of liquidations. I think several 100,000 accounts liquidated over the weekend.
To get it money.
Yeah, margin calls and...
So what does that say to you, though, longer term about Bitcoin? Does it say anything to you?
I think it's showing you that as it becomes more widely held and held in traditional brokerage accounts, it is going to be increasingly a risk-on asset.
So we shouldn't think of it as gold, then, a digital gold. We shouldn't think of it as a store of value per se. We should think of it as something else, a speculative tool that's in the sort of NASDAQ-y camp.
It's kind of both. I mean, it's very unique.
How can it be both? When people say both, I don't get that both part.
I sort of agree. It obviously has. Some people think it has value, but when you need it and you need to turn some of that value into cash for margin calls, you're gonna sell it if it's up.
Yeah.
Right, so when would then it be a store of value?
Obviously
it's a store of value when it's in the speculative and it goes up camp. It's not a store of value.
Well, I'm saying gold is still storing $52,000 worth of value versus $8,000 worth of value.
Would call history in the most scary. Don't say that.
We have never been down 1,000 points ever, not even intraday on the NASDAQ.
Is that true?
That is true.
Okay. Down 6% right from the get-go. This is heavy big tech. Here we go. Look at them go down. Microsoft is down $20. That's 5%. Alphabet, 5%. Meta, 6%. Amazon, 6%. Apple, 9% down. Let's pull out Apple. This is interesting. A question.
Who knows, maybe we'll pay off our $35 trillion, hand him a little crypto check, right? We'll hand him a little Bitcoin and wipe out our $35 trillion. But how do you...
Yo, welcome to Simply Bitcoin Live, your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution, covering use culture, dramatic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuning in to Simply Bitcoin Live, the most watched daily Bitcoin live show on YouTube, Rumble, and X. Sit back, relax, enjoy the ride. I'm going to bring up my co-host. Dude, talking about the cold opening. Holy cow, what the hell happened yesterday? Apparently this all started in Japan, the Japanese markets, and it spooked everyone else. We finally got a $10,000 candle, but it was a $10,000 candle to the downside.
It's not the right candle, though.
It's not the right direction, but we still finally got it. And I mean, bro, like I can't. And I was speaking to a family member earlier this morning, and I was like, I remember the time that Bitcoin went from under 1,000 to 10,000, and that was all of Bitcoin. It was $10,000, and in literally one day of trading, this thing fluctuates $10,000, right? 20,000%. I mean, 20% dip, absolute bloodbath. I mean, you're seeing your portfolio, especially if you've been in Bitcoin for a little bit, right? And you have your net worth in it. You're just seeing it fluctuate, and you're like, what the hell is going on? But I think the overall theme, the thing that I want to focus on today's show is focus on the revolution, focus on what's actually going on. And the revolution is the separation of money and state. I mean, it's the theme of the show. The day-to-day volatility, I would say, is a good thing, right? Central bankers and governments would like to tell you that volatility is a bad thing. They'd like to tell you that, it destroys people. I would say that's like the natural order of things. And Bitcoin tends to be volatile. Not tends to be. Bitcoin is volatile up and to the right versus fiat currency, specifically for the larger countries. For the smaller countries, that like it's volatile going down. But fiat is slightly less volatile, but down and to the right. Bitcoin is volatile up and to the right. I would much prefer the up and to the right, in my opinion. But yeah, absolute bloodbath. And these moments, by the way, especially if you've been in this for a while, tend to be the best buying opportunities. Like catching falling knives is how you earn your stripes.
It's a rite of passage.
I stacked at 60. I'm like, I got a good deal. And then it just kept going down, and I stacked at 55. And then I kept going down, and I stacked at 50, and it just kept
Wait,
going
we
down.
still have dry powder left? What's going on here?
Yeah, and then something else to like keep in mind, because I'm sure that this thought has come into people's minds, it's crossed people's minds, like, wait a second, like I had, you know, I had more money there, I bought it at 67, now I'm getting at 50. What I say is, like, no one knows whether it's going to go up or down. Like no one has any idea
In the short term.
in the short term. And what I will say is that time in the market beats timing the market. I've never met someone that has been in this industry for a long time. There's always horror stories, and especially from like the OGs that I've heard. I'm not going to name any names, but it's like, I remember buying Bitcoin at $30 and then it went down to $1 and it was horrible. Could you imagine, like 30 to 1? That's, I don't know what that is in percentage terms, but that's a lot worse than what we just experienced. And talking about fiat world, like, look, I'm still in Bitcoin Zen, and maybe again it's because I have a couple cycles in me, knowing that my Bitcoin's in self custody. Well, all these brokerages apparently went down, and no one was able to access them. Could you imagine that? Like, you pull up that website, and you're like, well, I can't access my money, or I can't access my portfolio, or whatever. That is crazy to me. That's why that's why I run my own node. That's where I take self custody. So I'm not dependent on anybody else. I'm dependent on myself. I think that's the key message here.
Well, hey, Nico, you know, the best way to not sell your stonks and your bonds and treasuries is when you actually can't physically find the sell button. So it's all by design. But yeah, man, Nico, to your point, to the bloodbath.
I wouldn't be surprised, like, if that was by design. Like, at this point, bro, after everything that I've seen, do you think it's Kamala's fault? What is her quote? What is her quote?
I will for sure blame the administration that is in quote right now.
What is her quote?
Unburdened by what has been
Is this what she meant?
This is what she meant. This is what she meant. This is, honestly though, this is the fiat apocalypse we've been waiting for. It's happening right now. It is very much reminding me of like the 2020 crash. And also there's a lot of correlations to like the 2008 financial crisis. So this might be the big one. Like, this might be the one that wakes people up to just how fake everything is. I mean, obviously for us, I don't know if you saw that Nayib Bukele tweet on Sunday night of like, burr, you know, like, you know what this means for us Bitcoiners, guys? The money printers are turning on. It's about to get super bullish in here for us Bitcoiners. But yeah, man, you just love to see it. It is going to be huge. This is the discount everyone's been waiting on. And you just love to see it. Like, Bitcoin, the most liquid market in the world, doing exactly what it's designed to do. While, you know, the Asian markets are blowing up, while there's recession concerns in the US, TikTok next block, Bitcoin's working exactly as designed. Bitcoin's reacting to real-time, what do you call it? Like real-time market signals. And hey, if this is the big one and Bitcoin is still above 50K, what's going on here? It's almost like Bitcoin's working exactly as designed. It's almost like Satoshi knew that we needed a monetary system that is completely independent of the traditional financial system. It's almost like this is exactly as it's been foreseen. Just love to see it.
So, and it's like, I think there's a couple questions, right? Question number one is Bitcoin's bull run canceled? We're going to talk about that. And then question number two is, what about that Trump comment though? Like, we're going to write him a little check.
Let's go.
A little check in Bitcoin.
And honestly, like, as ridiculous as that clip was, it's like the only actual solution to the problem here.
and the thing is, like I like, just based on Twitter, if you're on the left, you still despise Trump for whatever reason, and then if you're on the right, you know, you're more of a Trump fan. But I gotta say, like, and this is what we're gonna talk about today, specific during the news, like I don't think it's a left to right issue. I don't think it's a I don't think you should be looking at it from any other direction. I think you should just be purely looking at it from like, Opti just bury the lead there. Like, Bitcoin truly fixes this, and what administration is going to kind of like fast forward this. And I think it's clearly Trump or RFK. Like, RFK is the ideal candidate just based on his speech at the Bitcoin conference, but I don't think he really has a chance of winning based on the polls. So like then it's Trump, right? It's Orange Man. And I gotta say, like, no one, like, Trump is 78 years old. Like, how were you the first year you got into Bitcoin? Like, you didn't know jack shit, probably. So I mean, like, he ain't doing bad, in my opinion. And I think it will be pro. Like, it would be pro. It would be pro Bitcoin. The administration would be pro Bitcoin. And then the opposite, which is another kind of narrative that I really want to break on today's episode, which is like this idea that like Kamala is going to reset the current administration's view on Bitcoin. That is wrong in 1,000 different ways, and I'll prove it to you today. So like, just because they kind of buried it and then they're hoping that you're not paying attention, like, doesn't mean that they've changed their stance on Bitcoin. And I think it boils down to like, the fact is that if you're pro Bitcoin as a politician, you're more pro individual freedom, and you're more pro an individual being less reliant on government. And I think that for some politicians, that's a negative thing.
Well, also putting this in terms that politicians can understand, you know, monetary policy is a bipartisan issue here. So like, you guys want to make this a partisan issue, Bitcoin is just going to steamroll you and take your lunch. And we're seeing it play out in real time. And man, it just feels good being a Bitcoiner. This is the everything fine meme right now. Like, the Bitcoiners are the dog in the burning room. It's like, wait, what do you mean? Like, I didn't even know the price dumped until I woke up Monday morning and looked at Twitter, and it was like, oh, wow, it was a bloody weekend. What's going on? My monetary network is as stable as possible, and blocks are still coming in. But hey, I guess the world is reacting to very real concerns. So
100%.
Just love to see it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, it seems like you guys are already enjoying the show. There's roughly 1,000 of you guys watching live between YouTube, Rumble, and X. So if you guys are enjoying the show so far, make sure to smash that like button. Really pushes the orange signal forward. We're going to ask the question today. Is Bitcoin's bull run canceled? I'll say no, it isn't. And that's what you shouldn't be paying attention to. Bitcoin is perfect money. What you should really be paying attention to, if you really want a better future for you and your children, you should be focusing on the separation of money and state. Because if you want to know what the root of all evil, it is the government's ability to control and manipulate money. That pays for the endless wars, that pays for all the insanity that we see in today's world. So you really want to fix the world, fix the money, fix the world, you separate money from state. Anyways, I do want to give a shout out to our lead sponsor. Of course, I'm talking about Bitcoin Well. Bitcoin Well is the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. What does automatic self-custody mean? That means that when you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, it goes straight from Bitcoin Well after the funds clear straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address. It doesn't allow you the ability to leave the funds on the platform. To get started, you go to bitcoinwell.com, put in your email address. The whole registration process takes about 2 to 3 minutes. Every time you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, you earn Bitcoin Well points. You can use those points towards the Bitcoin Wishing Well. The Bitcoin Wishing Well is a contest where you toss a coin into the wishing well, you win some sats, and you have an opportunity to win up to 1 million Satoshis. So let's play one round of the Bitcoin Wishing Well. We're going to toss a coin in the well, and first person to scan the QR code with their Lightning wallet wins 500 Satoshis. If you use the promo code simplybtc, you get three tosses into the Bitcoin Wishing Well absolutely for free. So head over to bitcoinwell.com and sign up today. A great opportunity to stack some cheap sats. All right, everybody, let's hit the numbers. Lots to talk about today. Let's check it out.
The Bitcoin numbers.
I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor. Of course, I'm talking about Stamp Seed. Guys, you gotta write down your generational wealth properly. And you don't want to write it down on paper. You want to literally hammer it in letter by letter, proof of work, seed phrase storage into freaking titanium. One solid piece, small form factor, professional metal stamping tools, no loose pieces, easy to hide. You buy the kit once and then you get as many plates as you need. It has holes on the side of the plate so you can mount it into a wall, under a desk. Cover plates coming soon. And of course, they got a special edition Bitcoin logo metal stamp also available. So get your Stamp Seed today and stamp your generational wealth into titanium. Don't write your seed words onto paper. That's not a good idea. You got to take, cold storage comes with responsibility. And this is a great way to be responsible. by stamping into titanium. Look, it's freaking fireproof, bro. Okay, fireproof, waterproof, all those things proof. Paper's not any of those things proof. Anyways, at the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $54,710 sats per dollar.
It's over.
It's over. It's done. It's done and dusted. We're changing the name of the show to Simply Fiat. Sats
Simply
per dollar,
broke.
1,000. Opti already has the plug with Christine Lagarde. Sats per dollar, 1,829. Block height, 855,531. Blocks to halving, 194,469. Halving estimate March 23rd, 2028. Total lightning network capacity, 4,818 BTC. Capacity value, $263 million. Realized monetary inflation, 1.47%. Market capitalization, 1.08 trillion with a T. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 6.51% in the grand scheme of things. We are just getting started. Here is Patrick.
Hey, wait, Nico, before I forget, shouts out to Steve B. We got a super chat already. Let's go. $5. Thanks, guys. Always good info and entertainment from Steve B. Appreciate you, bro.
Thank you, bro.
Love ya.
Appreciate it, dude. Anyways, here's Patrick Bet David, great content creator, huge fan of his like network. What is it called? Valuetainment. And here's a good take on essentially what happened. Brace for impact tomorrow. Opening of the market will reveal a ton. Few strange events taking place, causing concern among investors. First one, rumors of an underground bunker in Jerusalem where senior leaders can remain for an extended period of time during a war has been prepared by the Shin Bet security service and is fully operational. The Walla news site reported on Sunday amid fears of Israel attacks on Israel from Hezbollah and Iran. The bunker, reportedly built almost 20 years ago, can sustain hits from a range of existing weaponry and has command and control capabilities and is connected to the defense ministry headquarters in Tel Aviv, the report said. Number two, the Japan stock market, the Nikkei 225, is set to post its largest two-day drop in history, larger than Black Monday crash of 1987. 3, Bitcoin is down 22% the last week, 10% just today. Ethereum is down 31% for the week, 21% for the day. Number 4, some trends showing the increased purchase of military stocks underway. This isn't fully verified, but you can see some patterns. I mean, like the fact that Lockheed Martin pumped 23% while the rest of the market fell isn't that scary, bro? That's freaking terrifying, bro. Like, I don't even know what to think of that. It's like the stock market is crashing and everyone like automatically thinks like war is coming. This is great.
Well, Nico, you already know the only way to keep the fiat system going is to finance more wars. So World War III incoming, boys and girls. Hopefully I'm older than the draft laws because it's coming.
I think we are now. Anyways, but yeah, no, that's so crazy. I mean, this is so nuts. The fact, I mean, Jeff Booth, I think, like, says it best, right? Is like the only way to keep a coercive system going is through like war, censorship, and fiat, without a shadow of a doubt, is a coercive system. So they have to like rely on these tactics in order to get people to go along with the theft. And I think that part is like very, very scary. So, you know, when because a lot of the things that we say, perhaps if you guys are new here, you maybe you see it as hyperbolic, but like when we say fix the money, fix the world, like that includes ending endless wars. Like the reason that they can get away with the endless wars is because they have a fiat money printer, which steals from the populace and uses it to fund this like death churn machine. If you move to a Bitcoin standard, all of a sudden the government doesn't have the ability to just print money out of thin air to fund a conflict. The only way that they can raise revenue to fund a conflict is through direct taxation, and people are only going to be okay with certain things. They're not going to be okay with a 20-year war in Afghanistan, right? They're not going to be okay funding World War III. Do you think people would be okay if you told them, listen, we're going to send hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine. However, we're going to have to raise your taxes in order to do that. I guarantee maybe the first time people would say, you know what? For some reason, I support Ukraine. But by the second and third time, like people are going to say like, you know what? I understand that what is happening in Ukraine is maybe important, but like I got to put food on the table and I can't even afford housing. Like what the fuck is going on? Like that's going to be the conversation. But They get away with it because they have this mechanism in which they can steal from not only the American people, but the whole world, because the US currency is the world reserve currency. So anyone who's holding dollars or using dollars to facilitate trade, like, you're paying essentially the US government's bills. And that's not right. Anyways, it goes on to say some trends showing the increase of purchase of military stocks underway. Number 5 talks about Fed Reserve considering lowering rates 0.5 point next month to stabilize the massive potential stock market loss in August. Number 6, this part is interesting. Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway dumps $75.5 billion worth of stock and halves Apple stake. Like, talk about timing the market, bro. They're now sitting on a record cash pile of $276 billion. Like, Jesus, man, this guy, I mean, he either knows something we don't, or the guy's just a goat.
He's just lucky, man.
Yeah, luck my ass. Anyways, what does all this mean? Nothing. Number 2, shit is about to hit the fan. Number 3, possible World War 3 is imminent and America may be forced to get involved with Iran/Israel if Iran attacks. Number 4, the overdue recession is finally here. Number 5, global recession after all the printing of money is here. Either way, I follow a basic rule. I lean 51% on future looking bright and 49% on only the paranoid survive. God is good. I mean, that's a really good take. Here is Pierre Richard. He says, Bitcoin is proving that it is the ultimate safe haven asset. Even in crisis, the network stays up, the exchanges trade 24/7, and the market finds a healthy clearing price, well above the 2022 low. Very impressive. I mean, this is a very optimistic way of looking at it. Did Opti replace Pierre Richard? I don't know. Is Opti reading Pierre Richard's Twitter? Very optimistic.
I'm a Pierre Richard acolyte.
What I gotta say,
Pierre
too,
Richard student.
What I gotta say too is like, yeah, no, Pierre Richard's the GOAT. And what I gotta say also is like, you know, the fact that, like, think about this, like, Bitcoin was trading all weekend, right? And the fact that, like, if you're into stocks and you have to wait, you see all the calamity going, and you have to wait till 9 a.m. and then all the brokerages or whatever fell at the same time. At least 6 trading platforms are down. Citi, Fidelity, E-Trade, Vanguard, TD Ameritrade, Charles Schwab. They all crash at the same time. Like, could you imagine? Like, dude, I can't even hit the sell button. Here's Dr. Ross. I think he has a great take. This month we'll be reminded once again that we do not have free markets, as many incorrectly presume. Rather, our monetary and financial markets are resoundingly centrally controlled. Keep your eyes peeled and your eyes open for announcements of major policy shifts from central banks, liquidity, and lower rates incoming. I 100% agree. And so does the president of El Salvador. He just tweeted yesterday at 10:41 p.m. Brr. Of course, reaction to the calamity happening in the Japanese markets. Here's an NBC News article. It says American recession fears spark huge Japan sell-off, point to lower U.S. open. It goes on to say U.S. stocks were on course for their worst opening of the post-pandemic era Monday as Wall Street continued to react to worse than expected jobs data, as well as a massive overnight sell-off in Japanese markets. And pre-market futures trading, the Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped as much as 1,000 points or 3%. The S&P was down 3.4%, and the tech-heavy NASDAQ set to slide by 5% at the open. That's mild compared to the pounding Japanese stock markets received overnight. One of the country's main stock indexes fell by 12.2%, among the worst days since 1987's Black Monday. The sudden and unexpected global stock market crash that raised fears of a depression, while the rout in Japan was driven in part by the U.S. jobs data, traders added fuel by winding down so-called carry trades that had seen them borrowing at previously lower interest rates offered for yen to buy assets more cheaply. But a rise in the value of the Japanese yen against the dollar, making assets more expensive for holders of other currencies, has suddenly made the carry trades less profitable. Monday's looming decline in U.S. markets would represent the 3rd straight trading day of significant drawdowns, while Friday's jobs report, which showed the U.S. unemployment rate unexpectedly climbing to 4.3%, caught Wall Street off guard. It also reacted to a weaker outlook from Amazon, as well as the growing belief that money much of the recent run-up in tech stocks, which pushed the NASDAQ to a record high just a month ago, has been overdone. The idea was formed in response to recent signals from major tech companies that the payoff from artificial intelligence investments was still a long way. Okay, so a lot to unpack here, but I think what a lot of people have to understand is, and this is, we played you guys part of the cold opening in the beginning, is that like the reality is that at this moment, Bitcoin is acting like a risk on asset. People are seeking, it's not a safe haven as people perceive it to be. I mean, how it's being traded, I believe it's a safe haven, but not the way that I think a lot of traditional investors would see it. To me, it's a safe haven because I know that even if World War III happens, right? God forbid, knock on wood 3 times, I have my money, it's in self-custody, right? And now I can take my wealth with me and I can bring my family with me without any type of let's say, like any type of I don't know, Opti, what is the word I'm looking for? Any type of barriers, really. So like that to me, it's that gives me peace of mind. And another aspect is like, yes, everything is down. Your purchasing power in Bitcoin has definitely gone down compared to where it was a couple days ago. You can't deny that. But again, I got to say, I sleep much better knowing that my Bitcoin is in self-custody and my Bitcoin's in cold storage. And I know it's unaffected by all the madness and all the calamity that's happening in the world. And that gives me peace, right? And I've also, as a Bitcoiner, I've been in this for 8 years now. I've seen this happen time and time again. In fact, last bull market, this same thing happened. And I'll kind of walk it through you guys. I'll kind of show you guys what happened last bull market. And you guys could see that perhaps something is repeating. I hate to go over charts, but again, if you want to learn from the past,
dude, we're getting chart boy today.
We're
warning you.
We're charting, but we're not going to draw any lines or anything. But anyways, this is what I want to show you. You guys see this huge drop that we had from 10,000? I think the end of the wick was like, it was pretty low. It was like 4,000
3,800 or something.
That was the COVID dump. Like this thing that happened here. Now, as you can see, what came after that, right? The halving happened. It went from 3,500 to 16K. Then we kind of went sideways for a while. Then we had the COVID dump. People consider that a black swan event. And then we went from what, 4,000, and we pumped all the way up to what, $64,000 in a matter of months. I'm not saying the same thing's going to happen, but it's a very similar setup in the sense that the halving happened. We had like our pre-halving pump. Very similar to what happened in 2019, where we went from 3,500 to 16,000. We kind of went sideways for a couple months. Then we had a, black swan, whatever type of event. Bitcoin price dumped like 50%. And then the things continued like usual. And then I think something that is also playing towards Bitcoin's advantage is also the fact that if the Fed does get involved and they start turning on the money printer and money printer go burr, risk on assets, the way that the investment world is seeing Bitcoin right now, like traditional investment world is seeing Bitcoin right now, they tend to go through the roof once money printer goes burr. So, as a Bitcoiner, I don't like central banks, but you can't deny that, if this continues, if this trend continues, central banks are not going to have an option but to change their policy. They're not going to have an option, right? That's the whole point of central banking. That's what Jeff Ross is saying. And I would say like this type of policy, I think has exacerbated things, make things worse over the long run. I think that they're short-term solutions, but it starts to build up. And I think that there's unintended consequences to them trying to control the market the way they are. But that's where I find peace in Bitcoin. And I think you don't stop it. I think that the bull market is still going to happen. I still think that 2025 is going to be an incredible year for Bitcoin. What's the trend, Opti? 3 green, 1 red.
3 green, 1 red. Still in play.
It still seems like that's following the trend. And I think that despite, this bumpy day, I think it's going to continue to do that. Also, something to keep in mind is that last cycle, I believe we had like 6 or 7 40 to 30 to 20% corrections in the entirety of the bull market. So this cycle is no different, right? It's something to keep in mind. Keep your eye on the prize. The prize is the separation of money and state that's going to make the world better. And of course, if you're saving and earning in Bitcoin, you're going to get wealthy in the process. That's my take. Opti.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, Sats on my stable coin. I literally wasn't concerned over the weekend. I was kind of trolling that, like, there's recession concerns. Stocks are getting absolutely obliterated. And I'm over here just listening to boomer music with Sats and cold storage, like chilling by the pool. Life is wonderful. I didn't even check the price all weekend. I knew things were going down. And as a Bitcoiner, you're like, okay, the only thing that matters is that blocks are still coming in. Bitcoin's working exactly as designed. And I think what we're seeing play out in real time is a rehash of what we've seen the last, close to 20 years since the 2008 financial crisis. We saw it in 2020 as well. Like, every financial market has become so intertwined that now once something breaks, it all breaks. Like, this isn't just a Bitcoin market thing. If you're just watching the Bitcoin markets and you're wondering, oh, why is my Bitcoin price going down? Well, again, Bitcoin is still correlated with most of the financial assets of the world. Until it fully decouples, it's going to play out like this for a while. But once it decouples, it's going to be an extreme movement upwards. And as a Bitcoiner, you're not really concerned. Of course, we don't want to see the whole world burn for Bitcoin to win. I don't think that that's necessarily what has to take place. But as a Bitcoiner, someone that's been seeing this happen for a long time and probably been feeling like the boy that's cried wolf, we've known that this was going to happen. And it really does feel like this might be the Fiatpocalypse happening in real time. We'll see what happens. I know everyone's out here waiting for Jerome Powell to come out and do this emergency meeting. Well, breaking news, the Bitcoin CEO had an emergency meeting this morning, and the monetary policy of Bitcoin remains stable in the face of uncertainty. This is why we're Bitcoiners. This is why we understand that you need to have a parallel system that isn't connected to the traditional financial world. And in times like this is where you get the opportunity to get cheaper sats. But also on the flip side is when people start to wake up that everything is fake, that it's all running off hot air. And now they're going to start looking for alternatives. So continue to double down on the Bitcoin memes of, 21 million hard cap and don't trust verify, because now people are waking up. Like, this is the time that we've been waiting for. This is when Bitcoin will shine. And I think, maybe this month will be a slow climb back upwards. It's going to be a slow grind. We're still in the crab market right now. But more people are waking up to the fact that something is wrong in the financial world. In the traditional financial system, there's something wrong. When you see these kinds of signs, this is when people should be waking up and looking for alternatives. And I think we're seeing that happen this morning. I don't know. I don't have the numbers on top of my head right now, but we saw billions of dollars of inflow into the ETF. So even though they aren't fully getting into spot Bitcoin yet, they're realizing, oh, wait, I might need to own something that isn't fully correlated with the traditional financial system. So at least the signal is spreading a little bit. Like, it's our meme world and everyone else is just living in it. And soon enough, they're all going to figure out that the only thing to hold is Bitcoin, spot Bitcoin in cold storage. And life is just so much better. It's beautiful.
It's so much better. Like, even with all this happened, and I'm telling you guys, like 20% is 20%, right? You just get used to it after a while. But I think that you find peace. Oh, and our boy Rustin in the house, star of Simply Bitcoin Originals, which he's going to be dropping a really good episode today, I believe. Rustin going hard in the paint. He says Bitcoiners are chilling with Lieutenant Dan, calling state as pussies in the middle of the storm. Bring it, you bastards. Oh, man, that's hilarious. No, but I mean, dude, I can't emphasize that enough. And I think that's really the signal here, because what you guys will find on YouTube today, most likely, is this like, okay, where's the price going next? And whoever tells you that like the price isn't important is just wrong. Like, the number go up is integral to Bitcoin's success. It is like how people get convinced that Bitcoin is better money. It's the incentive. So I don't want to downplay that. But that's not the purpose of the show. The purpose of the show is to be your guide through the separation of money and state, because there's two things with Bitcoin, right? You came for the money, you stayed for the revolution, right? Like that's the saying. So that's what I want you guys to focus on is why are you here? Like, why are you here? What is the purpose of you being in Bitcoin? What is the purpose of you hodling? The purpose of you hodling is freedom, right? How do you get freedom? Take self-custody, you run your own node. That's how you stop being reliant on other people. And I promise you, Bitcoin's incentives will take care of the rest. You don't have to do anything. And you're really like witnessing potentially, I don't know if Opti is right or not, perhaps he is. What you're witnessing is you're on a lifeboat and you're seeing a ship go down, and that ship is like making waves while it starts sinking, and you're on that life rope and you're starting to feel the waves, but you're on the best fucking lifeboat ever. You have a great view and you're safe and you're fine. So if you're on a lifeboat and you see a ship going down, what is your responsibility as someone in the lifeboat? You want to get other people on the lifeboat too, right? You want to say like, look, there's, we can find safety here. We can find peace while all this madness is happening. It's not a coincidence that the market coincides a war with calamity in fiat world. I think this is something that we've seen over the last 100 years, right? The last century was absolute, like, I'm sorry guys, it was horrible, right? Like World War I, the Great Depression, World War II, Cold War. We almost blew each other up during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Like it was bad, right? And I think Ron Paul says it best, right? It's not a coincidence that the century of central banking is also the bloodiest century in human history. That's what I got to say about this. So stay alert, stay tuned. What is the end goal? The end goal here, separation of money and state. It'll make the world a much better place. So yes, the volatility can hurt, especially if you're a new Bitcoiner. This is your first cycle. This shit is terrifying. I remember Opti, me and you got in roughly around the same time, 2016, 2017. Bro, 20K to 3,500 sucked ass. It was bad. You were like, oh, this is great. I remember I was into mining back then. It just hashtag wrecked, like laid the F out.
Yeah, so 70K to 50K is a cakewalk here. Yeah, but anyways, I do want to respond to something in the chat. Gulag goes, Opti, just tell us what the F to do and tell us why you're so hopeful. Guys, it's super simple. If you have fiat money sitting on the side, you should be stacking the dip right now. Make sure you are buying as much Bitcoin as humanly possible. But of course, like I responded to Gulag, also make sure you can eat food for the next couple of months and pay your rent. That's where I'm at right now. My fiat is on the side so I can eat for the next month. But if you still have fiat and you're waiting for the price to dump lower, you should just be stacking as much Bitcoin as possible. Make sure you take your Bitcoin off exchanges. If you're buying that Bitcoin on an exchange, figure out how to get it in the cold storage, because the reason why I'm so hopeful is because I hold freedom money. I hold money that no small group of banker cabal can control. They can't manipulate my monetary policy. TikTok next block. Bitcoin is working exactly as designed. It was made for literally this exact scenario that we're seeing play out in real time. And how could you not be happy? Literally stack Bitcoin and chill. That's all you got to be doing. If you're freaking out about the price, literally go outside, eat some good food, touch some grass. Everything is going exactly as designed. Bitcoin's died hundreds of times and it's still here. This is great. This is a cakewalk.
This is rookie
actually, Nico,
shit.
hold on.
This is rookie shit.
Yeah. What did you say you tweeted it yesterday? You're like, wow, finally I feel something.
Yeah.
This is how you know you're a real Bitcoiner when you're giddy.
Bitcoin was acting like a stable coin for the last, let's be real, 3 or 4 months. And it was I'll be honest with you guys, that shit was boring. Opti and I were like, bro, we were.
I was black pilled and today I'm white pilled.
We were seriously discussing, our purpose. And then now all of a sudden the volatility comes and I'm like, we're alive. We're back, baby. This is great. Bitcoin's back in the paint. It's going in hard. Yeah, man, it feels good. Enjoy the ups and downs. Volatility is a good thing. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Volatility is how you get the gains. You wouldn't get these 200-300% moves in a year if it wasn't this volatile to the downside. So just keep that in mind, right? Because the central bankers, they'll try to convince you of that. They'll say volatility is bad. It's bad for markets. It's bad, whatever. No, they're freaking lying, bro. Anyways, guys, it's gonna be a great show. going to talk about a little bit more of the political situation here in the United States during the news. Lots to get to. Still, guys, stay tuned. Simply Bitcoin Live.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air-gapped security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. All right, everybody. So back to what is actually important. I think a lot of people lose. They just lose their, they don't understand. They take their eyes off the prize. The reality is this, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in Bitcoin's history, it is a election year, and the election will have a lot of consequences for the Bitcoin industry and Bitcoiners in the United States. And I think it's really, really important for people to keep their eyes on the prize. Now, there was a little bit of a bait and switch. Of course, Joe Biden dropped out of the race and Kamala kind of took his place. And a lot of people believe that with Kamala kind of stepping in, it's going to, quote unquote, reset the political situation. And I just want to remind everyone that is not the case whatsoever. The terrible policies that have been in place for the last 4 years that I would say are spearheaded by Elizabeth Warren and co. If Kamala Harris wins the election, they're going to be exacerbated. Multiply that by 5. Because it's just going to be a check. It'll be like, yeah, keep going in that direction. That's a good thing. So that's something to keep in mind. And also, everybody, you guys know the deal. We don't lean left or right. This is not a red or blue thing. This is not a left versus right thing. This is a just Bitcoin versus fiat thing. Do you want to live in a world of fiat, a world of slavery, nihilism, poverty, despair? Or do you want to live in a world of optimism, peace, prosperity, and hope? And that's the world of Bitcoin. So just keep that in mind, because you can't really do anything about the price at the moment, you as an individual. But I can tell you something. Specifically, if you live in if you live in the United States in November, you can vote. You can fiat vote. I know it's very unpopular with some Bitcoiners that are anti-state, Rustin, but it's still something to keep in mind, and it's important to keep your eye on the ball regardless of what the volatility is doing. So anyways, so check out this article by Paul Krugman. Paul Krugman is our favorite fiat journalist.
Gotta love Krugman.
He's the one that basically made the case that the internet was not going to amount to anything. He's a fan of central banks. He's a fan of fiat currencies. He's just a nihilistic, hateful man overall, in my opinion. That's my take on the guy. Maybe I'm wrong there, but that's kind of like the vibe that I get. But anyways, there's an opinion piece that he wrote for the New York Times. This same New York Times that has released hit pieces on Bitcoin, that has released hit pieces that Bitcoin is being used to fund financial terrorism. So let's just say the New York Times doesn't really like Bitcoin that much. I would say the New York Times is definitely on the side of fiat. Anyways, he dropped an opinion piece called How 2024 Became a Crypto Election. So let's check some of it out. He goes on to say, quote, "I didn't anticipate the political twists and turns of the past few weeks, but then who did? One thing I do blame myself for not seeing coming, however, is the extent to which this has become a crypto election. 6 years ago, I argued that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies serve no purpose. And think about how elitist that is, right? If you live in the developing world, this is a fact, by the way. This is undisputable at the moment. You are most likely, you've been exposed to some people like Bitcoin, but it seems like a lot of people are using stablecoin. So they're using USDT, and they're using it as an alternative to their local fiat currencies. in order to find salvation from what? Inflation. So he's talking from a place of privilege. He's talking from a place of, I happen to be born in a country that has a relatively stable fiat currency. Most of the world doesn't have that privilege. And that's exactly who Bitcoin is for, especially as Bitcoin continues to grow in market cap. And as it continues to grow in market cap, its overall volatility, I would say, is going to go down over the long term. Anyways, he goes on to say, quote, that their market value rested on nothing but, quote, techno babble and libertarian derp. I think he's talking to you, Rustin. I stand by that judgment, which has actually been reinforced by the passage of time. But I didn't foresee how big a deal crypto would nonetheless become. Not because it would fulfill its promise of replacing conventional money, which it hasn't and never will. I think he's going to be wrong about this, just as he was wrong about the internet, but because it has become a powerful force that is, among other things, warping our politics. What is crypto? Donald Trump said recently, quote, most people have no idea what the hell it is. Indeed, even now, it's hard to explain exactly what Bitcoin and other crypto assets really are. But maybe this will help. Who guarantees that the money in my bank account belongs to me? Why can't the bank tell me, quote, sorry, we used that money to pay other people? The answer is that doing so would be illegal. I don't even know what the fuck that means. What does that mean, dude? That paragraph, it sounds sophisticated, but it's just a bunch of bullshit, in my opinion. Do you know what that means, Opti? What did I just read, bro?
No clue.
But maybe this was, who guarantees that the money in my bank account belongs to me? Who can't the bank tell me, quote, sorry, we used that money to pay other people? The answer is that doing so would be illegal. I mean, isn't that what banks do? I'm so confused. Anyways, okay, moving on. It's not only the New York Times that's releasing this too. It seems like an all-out legacy media attack. Here's a Verge article. Pump and Trump inside the MAGA-fueled fever dream of the 2024 Bitcoin conference. By the way, you had all of legacy media at the Bitcoin conference. You had the Daily Wire at the Bitcoin conference. You had Mike Knowles make an appearance. You had Russell Brand making an appearance. So when I believe that this latest Bitcoin conference was definitely, Bitcoin crossing the chasm, I really stick by that. And I think that the fact that it's entering the mainstream political discussion, I would say, is a positive, as much as Bitcoiners say, no, we can't root for a single politician. I tend to agree with that. I would say that you definitely want the system that has the men with guns to be on your side, rather than the system that has the men with guns to be not on your side. I mean, look at all the Lightning companies and Lightning wallets exiting the United States. That's because the regulatory environment in the United States is somewhat hostile. You don't want more privacy developers to be arrested and locked in a box, right? While the US government is continuing to fund wars, and they're trying to lecture us about what you can't do and what you can do with code. I would say code is a form of speech protected by the First Amendment. If you don't care about politics, politics sure does care about you. And I think that's the message that I'm going to keep on hammering until the election. Perhaps after the election, I'm just going to change the subject and not talk about anything. But I would say that it is important. It is important that either Trump or RFK win the election. And I would say that it would suck ass if, the Biden administration, now the Kamala administration, won this election from a regulatory perspective in the United States. And if you're building a Bitcoin business in the United States, I think that's something to keep in mind. Now, I know a lot of the things that you're going to say is look, Nico, you know what? I just don't care. I have my Bitcoin in self-custody. None of this is important. This is ridiculous. Stop being a statist. Stop cheering on politicians. You don't actually know what's going on with Kamala. Kamala coming in is a reset. So today I'm going to try to make the case as to, you could think those things, but I would still say it's somewhat important. And you could think those things, and I would say that no, Kamala is definitely on the side of how the current Biden administration has treated Bitcoin and the Bitcoin industry as a whole. Now, I think this tweet by Elon, I think summarizes it a lot, right? Which is, he goes on to say, that guy that doesn't get it, I would prefer to have zero involvement in politics. And I think a lot of us feel that way. And he goes on to say, however, there is no company success unless civilization itself continues to progress. Then sane shift by the left away from a meritocracy and personal liberties, censorship of free speech under the guise of hate speech will be the end of civilization as we know it. I tend to agree. Not in the sense of the left and the right, but I think if you start to censor, if the state starts to censor, there's no good reason for them to do that. The only reason that they're doing that is because they don't have a good argument. They don't have a good policy argument. So I think this is all something to kind of keep in mind. It's something to internalize, right, as the year goes by. Anyways, the next bit that I wanted to show you guys, which is the whole idea, right, that, you know, Kamala would come in and there would quote unquote be a reset. And you kind of see little inklings of this, right, as, you know, the current administration has showed signs that they're willing to talk with the industry, but it seems like they back off after a while, right? They say, look, yes, Mark Cuban, we're gonna have a, you know, talk with the whole industry, whatever, and then you never hear from it again. Here's David Bailey, CEO of BTC Inc. They're the owners of Bitcoin Magazine, the Bitcoin Conference. He goes on to say, if you're wondering about a Bitcoin reset by Democrats, Elizabeth Warren said, quote, I don't see a move towards a policy that embraces terrorists and ransomware scammers. Sounds like her and Kamala, quote, Bitcoin is money for criminals, Harris, are totally aligned. And check this out. And I think this is the signal, everyone. As much as they've been trying to avoid this altogether, on August 2nd, they, quote, tweeted a video by Trump, and that was the video of Trump basically saying that he was going to try to pay off the debt by using a crypto check or handing them Bitcoin. Dan McArdle says, so Kamala is using Trump's Bitcoin support to try and make fun of him. Yeah, how's that Dem reset on BTC/crypto going? And I think that's really important. I think they have to keep their heads down right now. With the fact that the election is around the corner, I think a lot of their constituents are younger voters. Younger voters tend to hold Bitcoin and alternative and other cryptocurrencies. So I think they're trying to keep their head down and trying to get people to not pay attention to them. But I have no doubt in my mind that they have not changed their policy towards the industry. Not only does that video prove it, but look, they're currently in power right now. They have the ability to free Ross if they want to. They haven't. And I think that's something to pay attention to. Here's Max Keiser. Max Keiser went hard in the paint against Donald Trump, specifically when he was talking shit about Nayib Bukele a couple weeks ago during his campaign rallies. I was a little bit upset about that as well. It seems like Trump has dropped that. And I think Keiser has a really good point here. Number one, copy El Salvador's Bitcoin policies. Number two, copy El Salvador's security policies. Keiser goes on to say, I'm cheering for Trump because I know what El Salvador is doing works. So, I mean, I don't know, guys. Look, I think these are uncomfortable situations. I'm the first, uncomfortable conversations. I'm the first one to say that. But I think it's also important to keep in mind that, look, like there's an election this year and elections do have consequences. And if you do happen to live in a swing state, I think your vote could potentially, it could help. I think Bitcoiners make up a large part of the of the voter base, and I think as time goes by, will be a bigger part of the voter base. And it's something also to keep in mind is that Bitcoin doesn't need politicians to win. I just want to emphasize that enough. I'm already going to hear it from some people in the chat. I already know it in the Telegram chat or in the YouTube chat right now. But what I will say is that no, it doesn't need a politician to win. I would say that politicians need Bitcoin to win, which is why, to use some of the people's words on Twitter, they're pandering for votes. You're absolutely right. They're absolutely pandering for votes. That's what politicians do. That's the whole point. But now our industry has gotten strong enough and influential enough where we can start to become a part of the donor base, right? And who runs American politics? The donor base here in the US. So I think it's a little bit of reality for everyone in the chat. I think people innately are really against politics because politics essentially is the organization of power and it can be very ugly. But I think, you can bury your head in the sand and pretend it's not there, but it sure is. So I just wanted to give I wanted to give everybody a reality check while the price is volatile to get everyone's, eye on the price to get everyone's head in the game, because the game is still happening regardless of what the price is doing. Anyways, up to you.
Yeah, so starting off, how surprising is it that Paul Krugman couldn't predict the future? Like, oh my goodness, I couldn't see that coming. Like, imagine my shock that Paul Krugman is wrong yet again. And you just love that he's out here just word salading at the New York Times opinion pieces, or I think they took it down. I forget, or is that might have been CNN. Anyways, Paul Krugman's been wrong about basically everything, and he is the quintessential Keynesian fiat economist, where he's just doing mental gymnastics to try to continue to facilitate and shill for the fiat system. Like, if you're still listening to Paul Krugman, as harsh as it sounds, then you deserve what's coming. And anyways, to that article point and to Nico's point, Bitcoin and, for lesser effect, shitcoin lobbying is literally the biggest funding arm right now in this election. So tell me our movement isn't important again, because obviously we know how American politics works. Lobbying is very important. And the Bitcoiners out there that are putting their money where their mouth is, even though we all pretty much believe that the voting and elections and politics, it's fake, or at least a facade here, at least there's people that are trying to get involved to actually make their voice heard. And it reminds me of the article that we dropped on our Substack this morning. Shouts out to our boy over there, Zach, who keeps dropping the culture shift. It's literally about this this exact topic. And I've been going back and forth on this because, again, I'm probably a broken record. I came to Bitcoin apolitical. I'm still very apolitical, but I understand that Bitcoin as apolitical money that is, not from the left or the right, that can't be controlled by anyone, means it's one of the most political things out there. Hence, while all the politicians are now either trying to garner our favor or actively attacking Bitcoin, is because they understand, whether you think they're 80 IQ or smart, they understand the mechanisms of the world right now, and it's all because of the money. It starts with the money, it ends with the money, and if they lose their power over the money, then all of the crazy stuff that they try to push through Washington, D.C. won't happen. And to your point about, the reset and the damned view on Bitcoin and crypto, I remember that they literally had a basically emergency meeting on Friday about resetting their stance on Bitcoin industry. So, what we're doing is super important. And now, as we move into the limelight, as the fiat world seems to be crashing, as Fiatpocalypse seems to be taking fold right now, Bitcoin is becoming that defining conversation right now. And people who have no stance on Bitcoin either are uninformed or they're malicious. And now everyone has to have a solution, or rather a take on Bitcoin. And the fact that everyone is laughing at Trump right now when he's literally the only one saying the reasonable solution, even though it's, you can say Trump doesn't fully understand Bitcoin, but, pay off the debt with a little Bitcoin check. Like, as frivolous as that sounds, that's literally the only solution right now, is they need Bitcoin. All politicians need Bitcoin. Everyone in the world needs Bitcoin, because everything is dumping right now. Again, this is a market-wide thing. This isn't just a Bitcoin thing. And you just love to see, as polarizing as Trump is, he has thrusted the Bitcoin conversation into the limelight. Yes. And he's saying a lot of the things that us Bitcoiners have been saying for a long, long time. And for better or worse, it's part of the conversation now. Mm-hmm. And look, the only solution here is Bitcoin. This is why our show is called Simply Bitcoin. And hey, he's saying all the things, and all of the, all the quote unquote smart people are laughing at the only solution. And you just love to see it. Again, I want to save as many people as possible. This is why I'm a Bitcoiner. This is why we do our show in the first place. But hey, if the Harris administration wants to come in and try to step on the neck of Bitcoin, they're literally going to hurt more people than if they embrace Bitcoin. But this is where we are right now. This is the defining battle right now. It's the fiat world versus the Bitcoin world. It's not left or right. It's the state, and it hates you. So you need to get on Team Orange. It is green versus orange, and we're seeing this play out in real time. And all of us that are Bitcoiners right now are feeling giddy. We're feeling alive again, even though the price is dumping. We're like, okay, all right, it's our time to shine right now. Give me some cheap sats. My sats are in cold storage. and everything is going exactly as foreseen. You just love to see it. Like, if you are not in the safety boats right now, if you're not in the exit route right now, then you should probably get some Bitcoin. And you know, what a great show. I'm revitalized, Nico. I feel great right now, even though we're poorer than we were last week.
Significantly.
Everything is great. Like, okay, that's all right. I'm alive again. This is when you know you're winning, when even in the face of defeat, you're like, oh my gosh, this is great. This is exactly what we've been needing. And now, hey, it's going to be even more glorious by the end of the year once the Bitcoin price starts pumping.
I mean, we got someone in the chat, want cannabis freedom, then vote Democrat because Republicans are against it.
Dude, that's minor.
I mean, like, okay, no, but he makes a really good point.
I mean,
like,
I agree.
He makes a really good point. Like,
I don't care.
It makes a really good point. Like, look, our view on this is like, fix the money, fix the world. And a lot of the issues that people are feeling right now is because of broken money. And if you start to focus on these other issues, which I'm not trying to downplay them, they could be very important to you as an individual. I think a lot of those issues that you're naming would be fixed by the separation of money and state. I think that the reason that the government has that much power to like influence society and make certain substances illegal is because of the money printer. It's because the money printer funds this unelected bureaucracy that remains in power no matter who gets elected. And it just continues to grow and grow the size of the federal government, right? So if you want smaller government, if you want more freedoms, I'm not trying to downplay those issues that you're naming. But the fact is that, look, if you want more freedom for those issues, I would say you want smaller government. If you want smaller government, you want the separation of money and state. And there's currently 2 people on the docket that are pushing that forward. You have RFK, which has the best policy, in my opinion, but he doesn't really have a big chance of winning. And then, of course, you have the Orange Man that I could see, and I can understand why he's divisive to some people. So I don't want to say it's a means to an end because I don't like that phrase whatsoever. But let's just say that there's someone who's marching forward Bitcoin policy in the United States, which are going to fix a lot of things down the road, versus the other administration that is marching forward towards a central bank digital currency future. And I think those things that you mentioned are going to be the least of your problems if we live in a central bank digital currency society. That is going to be a society of straight up slavery. I don't want to live in that world. That sounds horrific in my opinion. So I respect what you're saying, but I think you gotta zoom out and really pay attention to what's going on. Anyways, everybody, let's get to the culture. Excited to talk about it. Let's check it out.
The Daily Culture.
I do want to give a very special shout out, of course, to our sponsor, and I'm talking about the Orangepocalypse. Stack friends who stack sats. Join the 11,500 Bitcoiners that are currently on the app. The Orangepocalypse is the Bitcoin social layer. It has a really cool geographical feature. So if you're traveling, if you're going to a new city, if you're going to a Bitcoin conference and you don't know anyone around you, you don't know anyone going to this conference, you could pull up the Orangepocalypse and it will literally show you the Bitcoiners that are near you. It'll show you the Bitcoin events that are happening near you. It's also one of the best ways to reach me directly. I don't really answer Twitter DMs or emails these days. So if you want to reach me, download the Orangepocalypse, scan the QR code or check the link in the video description. You go to the Orangepocalypse, you could send me a DM, and every week or so, I take the time to answer every single one of you guys. So it's one of the best social media platforms for Bitcoin at the moment. So download the Orangepocalypse today. All right, everybody. So I'm excited. Opti,
all right,
what are we going to talk about?
We're going to just beat this dead horse today, Nico. Going to give you context of what we had over the weekend. Nico and I just kind of talked about it, but I'm also going to shift this and give you some more Bitcoin perspective on everything going on in the world. We keep telling you guys this every single day, that Bitcoiners have the solution. And in terms of being a Bitcoiner, there's a lot of silver linings throughout this whole crash that we're seeing right now. It's like, the Fiatpocalypse is happening in real time. and Bitcoin was meant for this. So if this is this is it moment, then Bitcoin is working perfectly and everything is great. So shout out to Marty Bent here. This was on Friday, I believe, or no, this was over the weekend. This was yesterday. So Marty wrote this. He goes, a recession looms in the U.S. Job numbers are down. Unemployment is up. Stock market's crashing. National debt is as high as it's ever been. CRE bomb. VIX is going up. Meanwhile, Bitcoin's fundamentals are strong. Morgan Stanley opened the floodgates. Volatility is flat. Well, now it's kind of down. Hash rate's at all-time high. And we have Orange Man pumping Orange coin. And, you know, the thing about having good spouses in Bitcoin, shouts out to Internet Sophie. She goes, Japanese, Korean, U.S. markets are crashing. The UK's inflamed. American politics is in shambles. And Bitcoin's below 55K. What a time to be alive. And we should have saw this coming. This was on Friday. You know, shouts out to Jim Cramer. Bless his soul. He is the best inverse indicator in all of the world. And he goes, NASDAQ futures are dropping as if it's the end of the world. Memo to all. It isn't. Well, you know, flash forward a couple of days and it is. It's like everything's getting wiped out. You know, we covered this on Friday. Shout out to the Twitter team. 2.9 trillion wiped out of stocks this morning as global recession fears. One of the worst days since COVID crash. And I hope you're saving in Bitcoin. But flipping this to the Bitcoin perspective, shout out to the Jamison Lop, is like, if you're sad about looking at charts, just switch to the Bitcoin dominance chart. It's almost like this market crash right now. People are realizing that you don't want to hold meme coins right now. Bitcoin dominance is all-time high. Everyone is going to what we would call the safety asset, the risk-off asset, which is, of course, Bitcoin, or even further, Tour de Meester. Bitcoin is doing just fine. Just don't get distracted. And you can see this chart here, Bitcoin Express and commodities. Still doing very, very well. Everything is good in Bitcoin land. Or again, as Marty Bent was saying, Bitcoin is the most liquid market in the world because of its properties. It's scarce, divisible, and saleable. It is also the only market outside of bodega cigarettes that trades 24/7, 365 days a year. It makes sense that it would sell off on a Sunday night as markets are melting. So as the world is melting, as the Asian markets are melting, as the yen carry trade and Japan markets blow up, Bitcoin trades exactly as designed, 365. It literally trades every single day, every single minute of the day, and it's a real-time metric of what's going on in the world. Bitcoin has a way of predicting where the markets are going. It's the first thing that is going to be volatile as everything else catches up to it, but it's going to bounce back as hard as it goes down. As we see, it's already up over around 55K. It went under 50K and we're good. Or, you know, Nico played this video for us. We have never been down 1,000 plus points ever, not even an intraday on the NASDAQ. So as it's super bloody, Bitcoin is just doing exactly as seen. And then we got this epic tweet here from Trump on Truth Social. Trump reacts to the market crash. And this was an old tweet here. And he goes, oh, wait, this is the wrong one. Sorry. He said something on the lines of, if the administration has an 1,000 plus point down day, then something needs to change. But I got the wrong one. And Trump just goes, stock market's crashing. I told you so. Kamala has no clue. Biden is sound asleep, all caused by inept U.S. leadership. All right. Now, relaying this back to the past, and Nico was saying earlier, I don't know if it's going to respawn like it did in the 2020 market crash. Well, it's setting up exactly as it did in 2020. Of course, we're not much of TA traders here, but the past does kind of tell you what's going to happen in the future. And you can see here's the 2020 crash. And it looks like we are setting up perfectly to see an epic end of the year.
That's some TA, bro.
Dude, we're going TA today, bro. I told you, we're going to get chart hard today.
I wasn't drawing lines when I did it.
We're drawing some lines. But as you guys can tell, we do constantly refer to the Wall Street market psychology chart. Well, we have an updated version, and it seems like this is where we are, guys. We've seen this before. Sell off, bear trap, pump just goes nuclear. So again, I've been saying for a while, it seems like we are going to have an epic end of the year. Again, referencing Marty, because Marty's been on point for the last couple of months about what's going on. This was his tweet this morning. The great leveraging is upon us. This is the consequence of many years of papering over systemic risk with manipulated interest rates. And we'll see what Jerome Powell says today. Or if he doesn't, which would be even just as interesting. Post 2008, the global financial system has only become more intertwined, and and this crisis will be worse. Or as our boy Big Sean Harris was saying, the dollar is broken. It's been broken for years. We've been telling you this every single day, but finally we get a real-time example of this happening. The Fed once again shows it's awful at forecasting when to lower/raise rates. They are best reactionary and only waiting until something breaks to lower/raise rates. These massive swings are signs that the U.S. is circling the drain. Now, if you're wondering what the big bucks are doing, the smart money is doing out there, and whether you should be buying Bitcoin or not, or you should be selling it because of uncertainty, well, shouts out to Arkham Intel. You guys are selling your coins, but BlackRock, MicroStrategy, Grayscale, and Fidelity aren't. Everyone that knows what's going on is buying. You're seeing massive inflows into the ETFs right now. Guys, it's exactly as designed, or doubling down on what happened on Sunday. According to CoinMarketCap, there's been $100 billion of Bitcoin trading volume in the last 24 hours. While traditional markets are closed and stock brokerages are not working, incredible. Bitcoiners created a very liquid and efficient market despite the adversity. Or, I got to end it on a meme. Shouts out to Doc Bitcoin over here, watching markets open on Monday morning. You're just chilling there, guys. Nothing to be worried about. Yes, your purchasing power went down in terms of fiat, but everything is going exactly as designed. We've foreseen this happen before. This might be the big market crash that everyone's been saying is going to happen. We'll see what happens. But as far as us Bitcoiners are concerned, it means one thing. Money printer is going to turn on, which means the Bitcoin price is going to go absolutely nuclear. They have to paper over this crisis. If it is a crisis, we'll see what's happening. But it does seem like the world is finally waking up to the fact that we've been in a recession for a long time. And now, as the markets react to it, more people are going to look for alternative assets to save in. More people are going to wake up to the fact that the legacy media is nothing but propaganda shields for the fiat system, that the Paul Krugmans of the world are nothing but shields for the fiat system. And the only ones with an actual solution are the Bitcoiners out there. We're the ones with the solution, and they're making fun of people talking about this. So as we're seeing this divide happen in real time, there's, the people that want to neuter the Bitcoin industry, and there's the people that are actively promoting the Bitcoin industry. They're laughing at Trump about saying, oh, we're going to back the dollar in a few years. We're going to, give them a Bitcoin check. Even though the verbiage there is ridiculous, it goes to show that there is a divide right now. And the people that are asleep at the wheel, which are literally the people that are in control, that are supposed to know what's going on, have absolutely no clue what's going on. Or rather, publicly, they're telling you that they have no clue what's going on. They're signaling that, oh, we can fix this, guys. But people are waking up to the fact that the system is broken. It's fundamentally broken. So as we have the Fiatpocalypse play out in real time, maybe we're being hyperbolic. Maybe they're going to paper over this again. Everything's too big to fail now. Everything's too intertwined. So they're going to continue to print money. All you have to do is save in Bitcoin, take that Bitcoin into cold storage, make sure you're running a node. If you want to partake in the Bitcoin mining space, get yourself a BitAxe right now, but there's no need to panic right now. This is the time that we were made for. This is when legends are made right now. Continue to stack. If you like Bitcoin at 70K, you're going to love it at 50K. Nothing's changed on the Bitcoin network. The world is going up in flames. And as much as we don't want to see the world go up in flames, as much as I troll about, accelerate here, we don't want to accelerate this process, because that means more people are going to get hurt. More people are going to, not be here with us. But those that continue to double down on the revolution of separating money and state, which we're seeing happen in real time, we're seeing the conversation play out, you're going to win. Continue to stack, stay solvent, stack sats. This is the way. As you see the legacy media continue to tell you that everything is all right, the lies, the perpetual lies that they try to feed us are becoming more and more exposed in real time. And they can't avoid this anymore. As a Bitcoiner, it's our duty to continue to beat the meme of don't trust, verify into the heads of our normies, metaphorically, of course, because now is the time to shine, guys. We have the truth on our side. We have the solution. And now it's in real time showing us that they can't stop this train. They have to continue to print the money, which means everyone's going to get poorer. Everyone's going to look for a solution. The trust in the system is being lost in real time. And those people in power are going to continue to say the same thing. Trust us, guys. We're going to fix this. Well, they can't fix this. Save in Bitcoin. This is the only way to win. You need to save in Bitcoin right now. Double down, triple down, sell all your shares, whatever you got to do. You need to stack more Bitcoin because it's only going to get crazier as we move forward. But we have the solution. We have the clarity. We have the money. We are the ones with the real money here. And the world is waking up to it. And you just love to see it, man. It's going to be a glorious end of the year is all I'm going to say.
What can be unburdened by what has been. Oh man, what a fucking line that means a whole lot of bullshit. Dude, I mean, is she talking about Bitcoin? I think she is.
She is, yes.
I think she is. Yeah, dude. I mean, look, I think you did a great summary. Just absolute calamity happened in the markets. I agree. I think Bitcoin is going to have a great end of the year. I think it's going to have a great 2025. And whatever's happening in clown world, just remember we're on the life raft, and what can be unburdened by what has been. This is such a good fucking line. But like it means, I don't know what it means. I don't know what it means.
No one does, but it's provocative.
No one does, but it's provocative. That's absolutely right.
But really, it does make a point here. And the point is no matter the crazy stuff going on in clown world, all of the distractions, we're seeing that there is a very active divide and conquer strategy going on right now. You always bring it back to the important issues, which is the money. If we continue to focus on the signal of it's the economy, the problem is the fiat money. The money is broken. They don't have the solutions for this. And you can continue to expose all of the ridiculousness coming out of the, fiat culture that they have no clue what's going on. That's why they're trying to distract you with all of the crazy stuff going on, is because the economy is broken and they have to have sleight of hand movements. They got to manipulate the fiat, the fiat economy for things to continue to go on.
They got to turn on that freaking propaganda machine on overdrive like they have been. We should just co-opt that phrase. Like we should make it a Bitcoin phrase. Like what can be unburdened by what has been.
Yes. You know what that really means? Fuck out. Guys, you know what that means of what has been and what is it?
Be unburdened by what has been.
It means diminishing returns is a LARP. It's a meme, and the price is going to go nuclear because what can be is unburdened by what has been, which means the price action from the past does not mean it's going to stay the same moving forward when everyone is realizing there is a fundamental problem to the system.
Yeah, exactly. What can be unburdened by what has been. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the August 5th episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. I'm your host, Nico. My legendary co-host, Optimus Fields. If you guys enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash the like button. Consider subscribing. And don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. Take advantage of these cheap prices to stack those cheap sats. I don't think we'll be here for a very, very long time. So it's probably a good idea to get some just in case it catches on. All right, everybody. Love you all. We'll be back tomorrow for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin.
It's over.
Live. Should we rebrand? Simply Bitcoin Fiat?
Simply broke.
Simply.
This episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, on a mission to enable independence.